A few episodes ago, we began work on the Snowy Village. It was a 1x3 module with one of our largest village structures to date, a Snowy Village library. But it's going to take more than one building to call this place a proper village. So today we're doubling the size of our village with another 1x3 module and adding another building and a farm to go along with it. Plus, we're going to be revisiting that meeting area, which I challenged you guys to come up with a better solution for, and you did not disappoint. There's a lot of fun to be had in this episode, so hey, let's get to building. Much like that first Snowy Village module, this is going to be another 1x3 module. That's 16x48 studs, or 8x24 blocks in-game. That means the total size of this village is going to come out to be a chunk and a half. To help make sure that things line up throughout this build, I'm going to connect the two halves together right away. Compared to a lot of the other overworld modules, you can see that the terrain slopes up here pretty significantly, because this is going to form the foothills of a large mountain that we'll add later on. Like all the previous villages that use dirt paths, we're going to offset those tiles by an extra half a plate, a technique accomplished using these special pieces called brackets. These pieces are designed in such a way that that thinner portion is exactly half a plate tall, which makes it perfect for doing all sorts of complicated Lego math. One of the reasons I love Lego so much as a brick building medium is because of how these pieces all work together in this complex yet beautifully organized system. It's the intricacies of a system like this that make building something relatively simple like a Lego Minecraft world actually really exciting and engaging. And I'm always learning something new about this system when I'm doing this. Lego and Minecraft were just meant to go together. Things definitely look a bit messy on the build right now, but as I tile this off, you'll see that there was indeed a method to the madness. With the most complicated part out of the way, we can now continue to build up the terrain. I'm making sure to add plenty of reinforcement underneath so I can press down those 2x2 tiles and structures later on, but I also want to be efficient with the bricks that I have because, as I'm sure you know, Lego is expensive, so we don't want to fill this thing completely with solid brick. Leaving hollow spaces makes it lighter, easier to transport, and more cost effective. It's not even necessary to make these outer walls solid brick. I could find a better and more efficient way of doing that too, but I think I'm just in too deep at this point. I'm going to spin the model around to give you a more pleasant view, and then we're going to start on our first structure of the day, which is the farm. There are two Snowy Village farm variants, but I'm going to go with the more structural of the two. It's just a bit cleaner, and I think it's going to look right at home in this very well-organized village. As we did for the library in the previous Snowy Village episode, I'm going to be using a mix of reddish brown and old brown. Old brown represents the stripped spruce logs, and reddish brown represents spruce planks. Oh, and I think you guys will be happy to see this. Lightning McQueen is also making an appearance here. I really don't know where these tiles keep coming from. I don't own any car sets. Because farmland in-game also sits a bit lower like dirt paths do, I'm also going to be offsetting these blocks by half a plate with the same bracket technique that we used for the paths. Another technique that I'm employing here is the use of snot construction for the side of this farm. 2x2 tiles in brown, as we'll discover later on, are very expensive, so if I can minimize their use, that will literally save me a handful of dollars just in this small line. Prior to this project, old brown is something I had zero appreciation for, but I've really warmed up to the color working with it over these last two modules. The difference in these two browns might be pretty subtle, but there's something rather unique about this old brown that makes it a very worthwhile color to build in even today, even if it has been discontinued for almost 20 years. We're gonna throw yet another brown into the mix with dark brown for the hydrated farmland. And I'm gonna put in this little assembly too that will allow us to attach that lamp later on. The crop that I've chosen to put here is beetroot, as it hasn't yet been represented in the Minecraft layout. Super simple construction, red pips with 1x1 green flower pieces on top. I didn't realize until now while I'm editing that Brick Nerds Nerdly has become a permanent part of the display. I'll also be adding a composter here. It's simply a Lego standard crate piece. It's one plate too tall, but if I sink it into the build itself, No problem. To maximize the limited number of 2x2 brown tiles I have, I'm going to cover some of the farm's ridge in snow. Hopefully I'm able to make this look somewhat natural. Having it all covered in snow just didn't feel right to me. I want to show off this rather cool, discontinued color a bit. To finish the farm off, I'm going to add that little lamp above to keep that water from freezing on us. And before we start on the next structure, a small house, I think it's time to tile this all off. When doing some research prior to making this video, I did notice that grass can spawn in snowy plains, so I'm making an effort to add some of those here too. It breaks up the empty whiteness rather nicely. The village here is starting to come together. Because of some of the open spaces on the front and back of this module, the village feels a bit less crowded than some of the others, and that's definitely a good thing. The brightness of the farm adds a lot of color to this otherwise very white and brown display. Now it's time to get to work on the other village structure, a small cozy house. In particular, Snowy Small House 2. Not only was this house the perfect size, but it also had some great texture on the outside and some fun interior details that make it a perfect fit for our village. That large roof hides a very modest sized footprint. Whoops. As I was saying, that large roof hides a very modestly sized footprint of 5 by 5 blocks. Not a lot of interior space, but a good size for one inhabitant. Like the other structures, we'll be mixing reddish brown and old brown to give the structure some variety. With a structure this small, I think it's really important that you can get inside, so I want to make sure that that entire roof can easily be taken off in multiple sections too if you want, so you can access the furniture and put new figures inside if you want. And speaking of furniture, what we've got here is a standard 1x2 bed, a build that I featured in different colors and other village structures. That's gonna go in the back right corner, and then we'll also place a furnace in here as well. Like the furnaces you find in LEGO Minecraft sets, you can spin this one around to turn it on or off. For the door, I'm going to be using the same technique that we used in the library. Since minifigures can't fit through it anyway, I don't feel too bad that you can't actually open this one. On top, we're going to place a torch on the wall, which I had to get a bit creative with since there aren't a lot of great pieces to work with in Old Brown, but I think that works pretty well. And then we can bring in one of those roof panels. You'll see backwards masonry bricks here to provide that spruce plank texture, and then we'll cover this thing in slabs too to make it more interesting, just like you would find on the model in-game. For now, the roof splits apart into 3 sections, though I might try and combine them all later on to make the process of removing the roof just a bit easier. Now let's add some mobs to this village, like the White Rabbit included in 2018's Skull Arena set. And we'll add some players in here too, like the Yeti from the Ice Castle, and the Netherite Knight from the Deep Dark Battle. That gives us just one last task to complete for our snowy village, and that's the rebuild of the meeting area. I challenged you guys to come up with the solution to the meeting area that allowed for a smooth underside to that canopy. And it wasn't long before a few channel members on our Discord came up with an interesting solution. So we're starting with something pretty similar to what we had last time, but there's one key difference with this, and that it's built all upside down. So some of the parts we're using here are a bit pricey too, including these 2x2 tiles in the color. But these are going to help us make sure that the underside of this is all smoothed out. Since 2x2 jumpers definitely weren't a thing when Old Brown was, we need to make use with another very interesting piece. That's this 2x2 tile with a Technic pin coming out of it. It basically can serve as a 2x2 jumper, and that's how we're going to attach the supports for this meeting area. A nice side effect of using these is that they don't have the ridge around the bottom, so it makes the sides just look a little bit cleaner in the corner without that extra lip. And the supports will be able to just slide on right over these. And there's plenty of friction to keep them from swiveling around in directions you don't want them to go. Ta-da. Instead of the sand green jumpers that were once here, we're going to use sand green quarter tiles, and the meeting area can just sit between them. Now, you'll have to let me know if you think the almost $10 extra I spent on making this as smooth as possible was worth it or not. It certainly is on brand for the custom LEGO Minecraft series, and by that alone, I think it deserves its spot here. A shout out to all the crazy people who helped come up with and develop this idea. You all are seriously awesome and talented, and it was really fun to watch this conversation unfold. With that in place though, our snowy village is now complete. I've been looking forward to doing this one for a long time, as it is one of my favorite villages in the game, perhaps just behind the desert village. It always is a welcome relief to find one of these in the rather barren snowy plains. There's no other existing modules that we can attach this to quite yet, but as we continue to develop the colder side of the display, we'll find some neighbors for this pretty soon. For the next episode, we're going to return underground though, as we have so many underground modules to complete. In fact, part of that underground module will be directly beneath this village. And if you want to watch that episode early, you can as early as today by becoming a channel member. All you need to do is hit that join button that you'll find down below or follow the link in the video description. Thank you for an awesome year of the custom LEGO Minecraft series. I'm looking forward to seeing you again in 2024. Have yourself a great life, and I'll see you later.